Hello and welcome to Guy Free Working on Me, a woman's journey to self-awareness. This is a great moment in your life, a moment where you have decided to stop taking care of everyone else and to just start to take care of yourself. Stick with me through these podcasts and we are going to take the best rides of our lives. Listen up. Guy Free Working on Me is not meant to be a permanent lifestyle. It is meant to be a time in your life where you stop basing your worth, your happiness, and your self-esteem on having a man at your side. This is going to be an all-out redeciding of who you are, who you want to be, and what you feel inside. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hello, I'm Shauna Hoffman. I am so glad that you're joining us today. I am excited to welcome back to our podcast, Andra Million. If you listened to our podcast 3 weeks ago, you have heard all the fabulous insight Andra gave us into women and our wellness goals. Well, today we're going to speak to this a little more in depth. So get ready to check in on your own commitment to your health. Let me tell you a little bit about Andra. She holds a master's of traditional Chinese medicine and Chinese herbal medicine from the top TCM university in the United States. She has used her skill set in acupuncture and herbology, working in integrative medicine alongside the pediatric surgeons and anesthesiologists at UCLA Medical Center for Pediatric Pain. For the past 20 years, Andra has been in private practice in her beloved Austin, where she treats the whole person with a focus on chronic ailments and healthy aging. Since 2001, Andra has been the featured acupuncturist for Ballet Austin and served on the board as president of Austin Herb Society. Now, ladies, here is our disclaimer for today. This podcast is for information purposes only and is no way intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. It's important to always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare professional with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. There you go, everybody. Welcome back, Andra.
Thank you, Miss Shauna. Nice to be here with you.
We had such great feedback from our last podcast. I know that so many women are really looking forward to hearing more from you today.
What are we going to talk about today?
Well, I really loved the concept of wellness goals. You know, women, it's really interesting, Andra. Why is it that we'll come up with workout goals, work goals? Even I find that the only time we really look at wellness is when we need to lose weight or we're already ill with something.
Yeah, I mean, even when we're ill with something, because it's really not taught a lot. If you're going to a practitioner, some of them will ask their patients, what is your goal for this meeting with me? What do you want to accomplish here? A lot of them won't. So what I suggest to people for a couple of reasons is get your goals together. It'll help focus you on really the kind of practitioner you need to be seeing at any given time. If it's just for overall wellness, if it's for something nutritional, or if you're really having issues with something. And we'll get into, who you might choose for that later in this talk. But if you go in to see someone, why you're going to see that person and what you hope to accomplish. And if they don't ask you, you keep a running notes about how well this person and you are teaming up and accomplishing that goal. Because once people get over something like a symptom, if you go in and you're saying, okay, I'm having terrible PMS, every month I'm just a mess, and you go in to see, for example, somebody like me, somebody who treats PMS in a natural way, and things start to go well for you after a while. It's like having a baby. You'll get amnesia about why you were in there in the first place, about how you felt before. So some people, especially pain doctors, will do that scale of 1 to 10 on a pain scale. Where are you today? Are you 10 jumping out of your skin, excruciating pain? Are you 0? Nothing is happening. And they'll keep a running tally of that. A lot of times physical therapists do this. Chiropractors might do this, other types of pain doctors, so that you're both on the same page and they can go back and say, look, when you came in here, you were a level 6 pain every single day, significant pain. And now you're about hovering at a 1 or 2 maybe a few times a week. So we're doing a lot better. And in that way, they can keep track of their progress with you, and you can keep track of your progress with you.
So what about the person who does not have any pains, does not have any goals though? How do you create your wellness goals if you're actually feeling fine? I think that's my biggest challenge. It's when I'm feeling fine that I don't have wellness goals.
So in Chinese medicine, they say, I think I said this last time too, don't wait till you're dying of thirst to start digging a well. I mean, you have to ask yourself, are really my wellness goals important to me right now? Obviously, if you're thinking about it, they are. And if you're doing it on your own, that's one thing. Then you have, your New Year's resolutions that may or may not, be worthwhile. It really helps to have somebody else, I find, doing something with you. Whether that means, okay, I've got a buddy and we're going to do, virtual yoga once a week. Or we're going to check in with each other to see if you get one of those bands that tell you how many steps you take a day. That's a goal. That's a goal right there, right? So you have one of those bands, or you have a little app on your apps, and that will set a goal for you. It will tell you this many steps is what you're going to try and do today, and bravo, you have reached your goal. So it can be as simple as something like that, right? But you want to get something that's measurable for you, so that you can feel good about yourself and say, hey, I walked 1,500 steps today and I feel so good about myself. Or I'm going to call my friend Shauna and we're going to do 5 down dogs today together. And that's our thing. It'll just help you keep on track a lot better. But it's most important when you're actually shelling out money and time to go to a specialist or to go to a doctor or to go to a practitioner or a therapist to have a goal.
It's interesting because for the last couple of weeks, I've talked a lot about affirmations, which for me, these are my wellness goals that I try to really help my clients with. I really want them to wake up and every day have a clear mind and be positive and be honoring of themselves and clear thinking and non-judgmental of themselves
so
more than anything, right?
Yeah, so important.
How would you combine how do you see the mental attitude that you take combined with your wellness goals?
Well, in terms of affirmations and things like affirmations are really important, and they really work really well for a lot of people. They're different than setting a goal. They're more like creating a context, anchoring something. This is now happening. I'm seeing things in a really positive way because of this, this, and this, right? I mean, you're saying like what? Like what's an example, Shauna, of an affirmation?
I honor myself, therefore today I take loving care of myself. Today I eat nourishing foods, or I exercise, or I honor my body.
Okay. So if you're going to do an affirmation, then you can follow it up by one of those things and actually setting the goal of how am I going to do this? I honor myself. I am loving to myself. I love my body. How am I going to eat nourishing food? How am I going to exercise? Put that in place, because your brain, it's like a little mini computer. I years and years ago, when I was still living in Los Angeles, I worked with a really interesting guy named Nathaniel Brandon, who is now no longer on the planet. And he was sort of the father of the self-esteem movement. He was quite a character. And one of the takeaways I had from him was that our brain is sort of like a mini computer. We invented the computer, right? We invented the microchip. It's all up there. So it's very, very important that you speak to your brain and ask your brain exactly the right way, which is what affirmations do. You ask it, and in like Buddhism and all that stuff too, it's like right action, right questions, right thinking. How do you do that? So if you're in a negative space, for example, and you're saying, I feel really kind of yucky, I feel bloated and fat, your brain will look for a way to answer that specific question. If you ask yourself, why am I so fat? Your brain will start working and find 50 million reasons why you are so fat. which is not a very positive place to be. If you ask yourself, how can I honor my body, eat better, and feel better about my body, which is the same thing as how can I maybe be less fat? Your brain's going to start looking for that. Your brain's going to start looking for positives instead of you're fat because, you're fat because, you're fat because.
You and I say the same thing. And I have said this many, many times in this podcast that we are computer chips and we have been programmed from the time we were little, and we need to retrain. We need to delete all of the negative programming and input the positive.
That's a great thing, that delete. When I start getting to, and we all, and women, oh my gosh, I even heard about women stopping sports more than men because if they have an injury, women are more inclined to stop the sport that they've started because their self-esteem goes down around that injury, where men don't have that. They'll just get right back up and work right through it. So we tell ourselves a lot of really negative things, and we need to exercise our brains in a way to train ourselves to ask ourselves the right questions the right way.
Absolutely. It's a rephrasing of the questions. Positive affirmations is all about rephrasing them, taking out negative thoughts, assuming that we can achieve the positive. Many people think that once I get this illness, I'm never going to get rid of it again.
Yeah. A lot of people have been living with a lot of chronic things for a long time. And a lot of people have tried a lot of things for a long time. A lot of people, and I think we spoke about this a little bit last time, and especially women, are in that fix me mode where they tend to, again, without goals, go to whoever and wherever and whatever for that person, handing over their power and their autonomy to somebody that they have just met, a doctor, a therapist, or whatever, without a goal in mind, just walking in and saying, fix me. And when that person doesn't fix them because they don't have a goal in mind and they're not tracking their progress and they're not taking responsibility for their own health a lot of times, they lose track of how well they've progressed. They're in a constant sampling mode. So it's really important if you have at least try, that some people do have really, really nagging chronic things. But if you're on a path to wellness, at least try to, and this is, I'm going to ask you, to put that negative thinking aside, even as you remain skeptical. I think being skeptical is a great thing. I'm a natural skeptic, so that when you happen upon something that is actually working and your skepticism, because of the good questions that you've asked and the research that you've done and the goals that you've set, has proven itself to you, you're going to feel a whole lot better about the whole situation.
I have a client that said, it's not that I worry. Her husband would always say, you just worry about everything. And she said, no, I'm planning for either response. I'm planning for the good or the bad. I just need to plan for it. I'm not worrying about it. I'm not claiming it. I just need to think about it and plan for it. And that is what brought down her anxiety. Wellness. Wellness is a really big word. And I know wellness in terms of therapy. I know wellness in terms of psychology and our psychological thinking and our psychological health. Wellness is coming from a non-harming place. Wellness is coming from a place where you do not do your own harm to yourself. Wellness comes from knowing that if someone is coming at you in a harmful way, you have proper and healthy defense mechanisms in order to deal with that human being, that person, whether it's your parent, your child, your ex, your husband, whomever it is. But wellness has to start first with the way you take care of yourself. How would you describe wellness in the big picture medically? What does that look like?
Well, wellness is, first of all, very subjective. So it's when you yourself feel good. It doesn't matter what the fad is. It doesn't matter if somebody's telling you to get on a particular type of a diet or else the whole world's going to come to an end. It doesn't matter if somebody tells you have to eat everything organic or you're doing everything wrong. It doesn't matter if they tell you you have to be a size 4 and you're a size 14 and you're happy being a size 14. It's a very subjective thing. It's a body, mind, spirit thing. So those are the areas that wellness as a big picture treats. And those things, body, mind, spirit, are very subjective, meaning you're going to think differently about how you feel well than how your mom and her generation, her whole generation, felt well, and how your teenage daughter feels well. It's a very different thing. And you're going to feel different about what makes you feel well when you were 25 as opposed to when you're 60-something.
It's so interesting, Andra, because anybody that listened to my podcast last week, the podcast name was Breath, Balance, Lockjaw. Because I got lockjaw. I am the one that works so much with my clients on being centered and being self-aware. And I think self-aware is such a huge, huge concept in your psychological health and your physical health. Because I think when we are not self-aware, we don't even realize the things that hurt us physically or emotionally. And so I was laughing because here I am teaching this to everybody. And yet here we are in the midst of COVID and the stress that I have been under trying to help my clients and be there and do the podcasts and stay safe and keep my family safe. I had no idea. I was so not self-aware that I had no idea that I was clenching my jaw all the time.
Well, you talk a lot for your living. You must speak for your living, one. Two, nobody right now, and hopefully this podcast will be maybe on the other side of COVID at a certain point, but it's created a whole new paradigm of stress for everyone, and especially caregivers. And that includes parents who have small children at home. That includes people taking care, or in my case, I can't even go in the same house with my mom. I have to wave to her from the bottom of the driveway because she's 90. Stress has taken on a whole new meaning. We're going to have stress reactions to things, especially you who do it for a living and have to be there for other people. And I and other people in the health fields, oftentimes, and you talked about this last time, is, we put ourselves last. But also life happens. And things like, there was the Spanish flu and there's wars and there's droughts and there's your family members getting ill or dying or something. There's always going to be something stressful because stuff happens in life.
Yeah.
Stress is just part of life. And if you think that if you start beating yourself up because you can't maintain this perfect balance is like a teeter-totter. Nobody's ever in perfect balance. That's why we're all in business trying to help people.
That's brilliant. I love that teeter-totter. That's absolutely right.
So it's a dynamic state. It's not a static state. How often can people stay perfectly balanced? That creates, stasis. That is a lack of movement. That will kill you. So to keep dynamic movement, it's sort of an average of more balance than less balance. It's a trying to come back to things faster. It's trying not to get too far out of balance, but it doesn't mean you have to be in perfect wellness and perfect balance all the time.
Which is interesting because I was reading about the Buddhist monks and the ones that are living sequestered away and how easy it is for them to maintain their focus and their spirituality because they are not being inundated with realities of the world around them. Andra, believe it or not, we are out of time. Is it possible that I keep you hanging on? We end this podcast and we'll go ahead and start recording another one so that because I have so much more I want to talk to you about. And this way, let's do it.
You know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about assembling a wellness team.
Oh, that's perfect. All right, everybody. We're going to end this podcast today with the amazing Andra Million. We're going to talk next in next week's podcast because I'm going to keep talking to her because I need a wellness team. We are going to record this and check back next week because we are going to share more of the wisdom of the amazing Andra Million. Ladies, thank you so much for listening today. Please take care of yourself. Be good to yourself. Drink lots of water. Get lots of sleep. And I look forward to popping into your life again next week.
Thank you for joining me today on the Guy Free Podcast. My hope is that you leave this podcast inspired, fired up, and ready to take that next step on the magical journey of self-awareness. And then you come back and join us again. Oh, and if you can do me a quick favor, please leave me a 5-star review over on iTunes. I gain so much from reading the reviews and getting feedback from my listeners. Each week, I'm going to choose one special person who's left me a review to win my book, Guy Free Working on Me. That was the book that started it all. Make sure you add your name to the review, and I'll reach out to you if you're the winner. Thanks again for spending your time with me today. Be sure to visit me on the Guy Free Working on Me Facebook page and on workingonme.com for past episodes and insight into the fabulous journey to you.